Hello, Blue Justin here, still Justin, still not blue, and today I'm going to be doing a hashtag video. This is the hashtag Halloween Tag 2024 video. It was originated by David Diggs and it was answered by someone that I follow, Lisa Loves, and both of those videos will be linked in the description below. So I think this is one of my first hashtag videos, so I'm going to be referring to notes a lot. I'm sure you won't mind too much. Anyway, first things first, better close this up, otherwise we're going to get some not good visitors. Thank you very much. Just leave that there, keep them out. Right. First question, I'm not sure how I'm going to put these apart from reading them out. Question 1, are you a superstitious person? Essentially, I would say that I don't really get affected by if something unlucky happens. I won't really worry about it. I go to like, oh, this is really unlucky, I'm really going to suffer at some point. But I do confess that if at the time when it happens, I know the inverted commas counter spell, I probably will do it automatically. Things like if I see a single magpie, then I'll, which is for sorrow, I will wish it good morning, sir, 3 times, or either to get rid of the bad luck. Or if I spill salt, I'll take a pinch of it and throw it over my left shoulder to dismiss the bad luck that brings. Left being Latin for sinister, I think it is, isn't it? Sinister, that's one devil sits on. So yeah, I will do that. But if I forget, or if I end up, if the salt gets left, I'm not going to suddenly think an hour later, I didn't throw some over my shoulder. I really should have done. I'm going to start worrying about it. So not to that extent. Question 2, Ghostbusters is hiring. Would you apply for the job? Do you believe in ghosts? A simple reply to that is that no job that involves any physical activity would want me. Most of the time I'm off work with a bad back as it is. That's no point in applying for that one. But going down, sliding back poles, diving flat tops. But as to believing in ghosts, I'm pretty sceptical of a lot of the ghost hunting proof that is out there. I do believe that there are potential supernatural forces that I wouldn't want to mess about with. And for example, my parents didn't buy the house that they were going to in Bristol before we moved there when I was going to go to school a long time ago, because they got a very bad feeling about it, or my mum did. She's quite sensitive that way, and so I trust that she would have picked up on something potentially. So and I know that lots of people have said that if they go to places like Auschwitz, etc., even today, it is just got that feeling of death, and even wildlife avoids it, and it's not to do with the chemicals or anything that are around the area. So I do think there's things that I shouldn't particularly mess with, even though it's not necessarily particularly the ghosts that people go ghost hunting for, etc. And I don't mess with Ouija boards. They're freaky. Best vampire movie. Oh, this was so difficult for me, because even though I'm not really a big horror fan like a lot of film fans are, and good on them, because it's a genre that is doesn't require necessarily a massive amount of money and keeps the film industry going and brings new directors in and things like that, I think. Vampires are my favourite classic part of it, if you like. So I checked, actually. I looked at my database, and from my reckoning, I've got just over 100 vampire movies. Not that I've seen them all, confession. It's not surprising confession, but anyway. And like I said, that's the kind of horror that I really like. Sorry, to say what my best would be, or my favourite, I would say. Best might be different. It's always difficult to say what they mean when you say best. But I'll go by my favourite, which I would have to say is pretty much, I go by how many times I've rewatched them, and that would be probably a draw between more of a, what I call a classic era, more going back further than their revival, if you like, which is my second movie that's going to come up, and that would be Vampire Circus. Great film, fun effects, all physical, of course, starring a number of people. I think it's got the old Green Cross Code man, who David Prowse, who is the strong man, who obviously played the physical form of Darth Vader, and it also's got Lala Ward, who was the second Romana in Doctor Who. He's a supporting strongman. She plays one of a pair of twins vampires in a an acrobat act in the circus of vampires. I just really like this movie. The bad guy vampire is shown to be as strong as vampires should be, except in the scene where obviously they decide that they have to be able to defeat him somehow. If he stayed showing himself as strong as he had been in other scenes, then he'd probably be undefeatable. So there you go. But this was going back to, I can't remember what year it was. I'll put it up here, but I think it was around the 70s. It's probably one of the last Hammer movies before they, as they try to bring back the more of the vampire type success they'd had before, but without Christopher Lee, and unfortunately it didn't really pan out for them. And the vampires really didn't come back until their huge successful comeback in the 80s with my other, what I'd say, best or favourite vampire movie, which is The Lost Boys. And I know what year that was because it even says them on the shirts, 1987. That was when I think vampires were reborn to a cinema audience. Lost Boys came out of the same year as the absolutely brilliant as well, Near Dark, which was, I think it was Catherine Bigelow, James Cameron's other half, possibly at the time. Not now. First female director to win the Best Picture Oscar. So yeah, and that was a much more grimy, gritty version of vampires, very much brought the genre up to date, as did The Lost Boys, but in a much more fun and accessible maybe to audiences way. So that's why The Lost Boys won at the cinema, and you don't hear so much about Near Dark now, though it does have a very, very strong cult following, I'd say. And I think both are brilliant movies, but I have to say that, going by the number of times I've rewatched it, I'd have to say that Lost Boys is probably my favourite or equal favourite vampire movie, as I've just said. So, question 4. And no, I don't have lots of t-shirt changes for all of these as I'm going along, so you will be relieved to hear. What are some gateway into horror movies to suggest to someone who's apprehensive about horror? That's a very good question. I myself, at the moment, because of various medical things, I can watch certain horror movies that I think I'd be worried about if I was watching for the first time now. I might not watch them for the first time, but because I've watched them before, I'm not worried about them, so I don't build them up as too worrying to watch and getting stressed. So it's kind of difficult for me to say how I would introduce someone who's new, because you're going to get stressed out about this, potentially something that once you actually watch it wouldn't be that much of a shock to the system, if you like. I think if you're talking about how you'd introduced children to horror, and just don't ask me, I do not know, because I don't know what age parents would. I don't know whether parents would ignore age ratings because they make their own minds up, and quite right too. It's their children world. I haven't got one in my own, so I wouldn't know anything about that. But if we're talking about adults who are a bit nervous about horror movies and how to get them introduced, I would go with something that crosses. How come my vampire teeth in? Crosses the genres between horror, properly action and comedy all in one. Something like The Mummy. I personally, I think this is an absolutely great movie anyway. It's one of my favourites. And while it does have some nice horror type bits, mostly in the early parts where the mummy is reforming itself, and there's a few kills. The rest, there's not too much here that I think would be too off-putting for anybody, and a lot of it is balanced out by the humour and the action throughout anyway. So yeah, even sorry about that. I know I said about not too many more t-shirts. This was an exception, right? What I was going to say was that I tried on a different tack. I thought I'd go down once. I tried to introduce someone who was a bit nervous. I thought I'd try them on, say, maybe an old black and white movie that is so tame couldn't possibly be scary. And I tried them on Night of the Demon. That's the 1957 black and white one, not the 1981 with one of the goriest scenes ever filmed, obviously. I think it's called Night of the Demon. It's called something else, The Demon in America. Curse of the Demon, that's right, retitled. And it's 96 minutes, cut to 82 in America. It was just more of a creepy atmosphere rather than actual modern scares, and I can't even remember what the rating is. I imagine it's a PG or a 12, but then the person I was watching it with, in this case my wife, who's really not a fan of horror, said it's still a bit too creepy for her, not a bit creepy for her. So I don't, like I said, that's why I would have probably gone down I know she knows for a fact she doesn't mind the Mummy movies, for example. One advantage of watching Night of the Demon, though, I got to show off and point out that where the scene in which Kate Bush sampled the phrase and the line, "It's in the trees, it's coming," at the beginning of her song "The Hounds of Love," is from that film. And it's referring to the demon bit that's approaching. So on to the next one, and I haven't got a t-shirt, so be pleased. Question 5. You're stranded on Halloween night and need a ride. Christine pulls up. Are you getting in, or will you be walking home? Going back to the Ghostbusters question, really. On the principle I can barely walk, let alone run, there's no point in trying to run away from her. So I get in and hope she likes me enough to let me leave. That's nice and quick, wasn't it? If you were to get a Halloween themed tattoo, what would you get and where would you put it? I don't know, really. Either something like a small black cat. I'm not sure where I'd have that one. I've already got a cat tattoo of a black and white cat who was one of my cats who's sadly passed away. That's on my ankle, but I think what I'd get for, if I was getting a Halloween themed one, it would be a micro ones, and either have it on my wrist or my ear or something like that, so out of the way. Alternatively, if I was going to go a little bit more full on, I base it on the TV series I really, really like, Supernatural, and they've got a particular version of a pentagram, but it's not just a pentagram, it's marked up in a particular way. And I do it in the same way as they do in the series, have it here, and if you have that tattoo there, what it does in the series is it stops your body being possessed by demons who can leap from body. Normally, if you don't have it, you can leap from any unprotected body to any other unprotected body and take it over and use it as a, and I quote, meat suit, as the demons called it in that. Weirdly enough, I actually was walking down the street with one of my many Supernatural t-shirts, or I think it was one of my Supernatural jackets on, actually. And I passed some chap going the other way who was obviously a fan of the series, and he stopped me and actually showed me that he had one of these tattoos. So it's not just me. Anyway, question 7. Do you prefer caramel apples or candy apples? This is another quick answer. I've honestly not tried either. But and that's despite I do have a reasonably sweet tooth. However, I would say that don't really appeal mixing apples with sweet, and also with my recent medical advice and multiple fillings, I don't think now is a good time to be starting either and trying them out. Question 8. Do you carve a jack-o'-lantern for Halloween? And if so, do you carve it before or on Halloween night? Haven't done so for the last few years, though we do put out a plastic jack-o'-lantern to indicate to the area that we're okay to give out sweets to the trick-or-treaters, which we really don't mind because we live in a nice area. It's got luckily, and there are an awful lot. There's a lift next door, or few doors down from a school, so there are a lot of children in the area. But if you don't put out a Halloween or a lantern or something like that, decorations, then they're really good, and they won't call on you at all. And if they do call, they're either polite and of a decent age and they're polite, or the smaller ones are all being accompanied by very polite and careful parents or some guardians or bigger children or something like that. So it's really nice to see, and I don't mind that. So yeah, But as to carving one, my wife did used to carve them sometimes, but I never used to because I was never any good. And with my butterfingers, especially nowadays, I think the bloodletting would begin early if I tried. So we haven't done it recently. Essentially, the answer is we had in the past, but not nowadays. And if we did do it, we would have done it the weekend before we had a bit of time, something like that. When I say we, that's a royal we. So I would watch and say, no, you should do it like that. Question 9. What's a must-see horror movie for you to kick off the Halloween season or to watch on Halloween? As I say, despite this video, I'm not the biggest horror fan, especially compared to many. And I suppose a lot of it also depends on what you define as horror. So and that means I don't really have a must-watch. And so it's hard to find one that, and usually if I watch a movie nowadays, it's one that my wife and I agree that we'll watch together rather than one of us monopolising the TV because it's in our main room. I don't have a separate watching room or the ability to watch in a separate space. So we'll stay together and watch in the one room. And also, we spend enough time separated, whilst we're working anyway. So we like to spend evenings together, at least sharing our watching habits. So unless one of us is out or away, then it's very much a case of watch what we have to get an agreement on what to watch. And as I said, she's not the biggest horror fan at all, and therefore I would probably have gone something like The Mummy, which I do know she likes. If I was by myself, I would probably go for some sci-fi horror, because like The Thing, which I think is absolutely brilliant. Love that movie. I think it's a real John Carpenter standout. Others would obviously prefer his other better known pure horror movies. Me. So yeah, I think I'd probably go with, if it's something that everybody wants to watch or has seen before, whatever. I've seen it before for a definite. I've just got a bit of time on the hands. I would go with The Thing. And alternatively, my favourite werewolf movie, lots of people rate it, but I don't think that as many as me has their absolute favourite, which is Dog Soldiers. I just really love this one to bits. Saw it at the cinema when it was released, actually, and I loved it since then. And so pleased that over the years that it's gone from an average DVD to hardly improved Blu-ray, and now they finally got lucky and found the previously thought lost original 16mm elements, and since it's shot on 16mm, it's never going to be super high quality anyway. But there is now a couple of 4K releases. I've got both of them. The first German one isn't as good, but I got it because it came out first, because it's the German people who bought up the rights to own the 16mm elements that have been found first before they rented them out. But no, absolutely love this movie. This is just so good. And yes, I like it even more than American Werewolf in London. And again, I'm not changing shirt again. And again, alternatively, The Lost Boys. If it wasn't one of the ones I'd seen before, and I wanted to try something different. There are a couple that I've been meaning to try for quite some time, which include The Lure, which I think is, I can't remember what country it's from. It's mid-European though. About a couple of very mermaids in a nightclub act who got quite carnivorous, if I recall correctly. It's quite highly regarded. And the other thing I wanted to do was try the original Let the Right One In, Scandinavian one, as compared to the Let Me In American English language remake. To be perfectly honest, I'd love to see that and compare the two after I've seen Let the Right One In, but I'd like to see the original first. On to question 10. Halloween costume emojis. Here is a fun one. Describe what costume you would be wearing if you were wearing one this year. I'm not. In a few emojis, and let's see if I can guess what the costume will be. That's obviously put forward by the original David Diggs. Obviously you can have go too. I'm going to put up, I shall put up here some pre-prepared emojis to describe my potential outfit. I still got it upstairs. So I have worn it before, and you can see if you can work it out. And for a bonus point, I'm going to also put up if I was wearing that costume in accompaniment to it, what my wife could be wearing. You can try and guess that one too. I will put the answers up after the end credits for those who want to confirm their answers or see what way my weird mind works to possibly come up with emojis like that. And obviously otherwise it'd be very annoying. Well, it'd certainly be annoying to me if someone put up a whole bunch of emojis and then I couldn't work it out, but they wouldn't tell me the answer because you can't write to someone after a video and say, "Oh, what did you do?" Question 11. Leatherface's chainsaw, Michael's knife, Freddy's glove. What's your favourite signature weapon? Well, to me, very much it would have to be Freddy's glove because it's unique to the character, unlike the others, which are, okay, maybe they're particularly associated with that character, but they're not made for that character. They could be used by anybody, to be fair. And in actual fact, unlike an awful lot of the slasher type movies, I actually quite liked the first Nightmare on Elm Street. I can't remember, I think I might have seen that one at the cinema as well. Didn't bother with the sequels because, like quite a few horror films, especially of that subgenre, I tend to find that sequels go down the route of, will people put those vampire teeth back in again, will keep people coming back by making gorier kills because that's what people want to see, and maybe it is, not my place to judge. And but that's where it loses, where I think is a lot of the originality and the plot, which I liked in the first place. That's what I liked about the original Nightmare on Elm Street. I even liked the original Saw movie, but again, I just wasn't interested in following the path as it attracted more and more people back with more and more weird ways to kill people. That's just not something of interest to me. Question 12. When someone mentions the movie Trick or Treat, do you think of the movie first Trick or Treat from 1986 or Tricker Treat apostrophe R 2005? In my case, no question. It's definitely 1986's Trick or Treat. I didn't even almost realise there was a later Trick or Treat from 2005. Though in actual fact I've put it on my wish list now because it looks interesting. But like I say, definitely 1986's Trick or Treat, which, like many others, I discovered on VHS in the good old days. Basically, I was attracted by the great music because I was and still am a fan of that rock genre, and also it starred the main people in it all included Gene Simmons from Kiss and Ozzy Osbourne from, well, he's mostly a solo artist now, but Black Sabbath over the years, which is brilliant. There is no UK Blu-ray for this one, so that's stupid, but there is a nice German Blu-ray, so I imported it. So I do have that on now, and I can watch it whenever I want. And I think, what else? There's only one more question, which is question 13, which are the, and I'm going to quick cheat on it, loads, top 5 songs on your spooky season playlist. This was just impossible for me to curate a top 5 songs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of cheat, just want to do it in a slightly different way, which means I'm going to limit it to 5 artists on my favourite list, and I'm going to pick a favourite of their Halloweeny songs, with some probable honourable mentions or runners up, so to speak. Obviously, outside the top 5, everybody has to mention whether or not it would actually be on your list. The Monster Mash by Bobby Boris Pickett and the Crypt Kickers. It's just too much of a classic to not just mention on a list of Halloween songs. But top 5 in no particular order. That's going to be Bark at the Moon, Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, but Ozzy Osbourne, you've got to have something from him in there. But I mean, for me, it would have to be Bark at the Moon, on the principle that he's even dressed as a werewolf on the album cover, for goodness sake. Alternate options for that, for him, I considered were Heaven and Hell or Children of the Grave. Next of my top 5, I've got to go with Alice Cooper. He gives me a nice variety to pick from as well. And I think for Alice, I'm going to put my actual pick, going to go with Feed My Frankenstein. How could you possibly miss out such an iconic Universal monster? However, of course, Welcome to My Nightmare and I Love the Dead are another couple that could easily have slotted in there. I think we've got the next one up is Motorhead, and you can see where my love of rock music, it's still here very easily on this one, on these. So that's Motorhead, and I've put in first place on that one, Killed by Death. I think that was the one that Lemmy said, was quoted as saying that he loves that song because he loves it so much because even his mum hates it. And I put Killed by Death ahead of Born to Raise Hell and Hellraiser. And then in number 4, I've got Iron Maiden. Now, you could have so many of these, I think, but you've got to go, I think, I had to go with one of my the first album of theirs that I bought, the name of the album and the track, which is Number of the Beast, intro by Vincent Price. It just holds off Murders in the Rue Morgue, which was from their first album, and Children of the Damned, which I can't remember. That might have been the same album as Number of the Beast, or it might have been a couple down the line. And finally, because they're the same genre but a little bit more up to date, just to prove I still like the genre, but I'm not just staying with all the old names. I've chosen Hailstorm, and got to be a number one place there. I had picked Love Bites, and So Do I, which is fits in very nicely with my favourite genre, the vampires, or reference to, though they do also have a song which was very, very tempting for me to put in there, called Mrs. Hyde, or Ms. Hyde, and that's all about a split personality, which it's another fantastic song. So yeah, there are so many tracks I could have put in there. Shout at the Devil, Motley Crue, all sorts, this, that and the other, but those are my 5-ish. So I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed putting the answers together, and obviously remember to look after the credits for the answers to the emoji questions. If you liked this video, please hit like. I'll try to see if I can find some more hashtags to do, even if I'm not tagged in by anybody. I'll just jump on the wagon, I don't mind. And if this one becomes particularly popular or people like it, I shall see what I can do and do some more. And also, obviously, please keep please hit the follow button to see when I'm producing more content. It's very much appreciated. Liking the video really helps the channel, and not particularly connected with this one, but obviously keep on enjoying all your Halloween movies, Halloween proceedings, and getting out there and being all scary. Have a great time. Okay, thank you very much, and goodbye. Right, answers. I think we're going to, there's a hint here. Answers to the emoji questions. This one is, what costume would I be wearing? And that is the Mummy. Woman goes into a hospital. Woman comes out of a hospital with a child. She's a mummy. Right, I think that's relatively... I thought it was quite obvious, but obviously that's the way just my mind works, and people's minds work different ways. So yeah, this is a picture of me in my mummy outfit from a number of years ago. Promise that is me under there. And the emojis for what my wife, who my wife would go at if I was as the mummy. I hope you might have got this one because it's hinted at, is an axe, sun, a moon. An axe, sun, a moon. So yeah. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't get my wife to put on an axe, sun, a moon costume because the gold paint takes ages to get off. Just to have a photo here, so I'm going to have to put up a picture of her from the film. So, sorry about that. Okay, thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe. Bye.